All right, all right, all right. Guru here. Um, by now, what's today? The 21st. Everybody knows what tags they got. And to everyone who got a Mount Emily elk tag, congratulations. I got mine last year. In fact, there's my bull right there. Um, Definitely not the biggest bull in Mount Emily, but a beautiful 6 point nonetheless. These pictures don't, if I turn the camera around, you can't really see how wide it is. It's a big 6 point that goes way up. Just a really nice bull. In fact, I don't even know if it even go 350. I know it's real close, but to me, it's after 23 years of waiting to kill a trophy bull elk in the unit that I grew up hunting. Um, you know, it's a nice bull. If you want to see the better pictures of it on this channel, I did a montage video of my Oregon elk hunt journey. I'd actually done a lot of filming, but because this hunt was so personal to me in an area I grew up hunting, I didn't. I just did pictures. I just did pictures. I didn't want to. I saved the video for me. I guess I was being selfish, but um so little inside baseball with me and Mount Emily. I grew up hunting there. The first year that I went hunting there at the age of 7 was 1982. I'd have gone earlier, but my mom wouldn't let me. Elk hunting, in my family, that was our family vacation. That's what we did. It's a way of life. And I caught the bug early. I mean, real early. And I haven't hunted Mount Emily every year, but I would say, at least every 2 to 3 years I hunt there, whether it's deer or elk. I actually didn't start hunting deer there till after my father had passed, and we'd always talked about hunting deer there, but never did. And we'd see all these monster bucks, obviously, in the middle of the rut. But I wanted to share this with you guys. It's a this picture. So I'm the guy in the hat. I'm 12 years old. This is 1987. That's me with my cousin Jason. He didn't want to pose with me that picture because he didn't kill the bull. I did, but I was like, come on, man, you got to get in here. And so did my dad and my uncle. But yeah, that's me, 1987, my first bull elk. Special time. I miss that old travel trailer. Man, we did a lot of hunting in that thing. And, you know, Mount Emily it's just a special place. And I wanted to do this video so, the fortunate who drew the tag, whether you're archery hunting or whether you're rifle hunting, give you guys a kind of a perspective, maybe something that'll help you guys out and be more successful. Um, my trip, I was there total days in Mount Emily. I was there 13 days, almost 2 weeks. We started at that season runs. I could have gone another week, but I didn't. That season basically runs all of first season. The time between first and second season that ends, and then all of second season. But we were there, we left on the 13th day. We just got hit with hard weather, and I'm used to that there. I was there at the age of 10, the storm of 85, which would, it dumped 4.5 feet of snow up there and trapped a lot of people there. I've seen the worst Mount Emily can throw at you. It's just, you got to be prepared. For anybody that's hunted over there during the winter months, you just got to be prepared. And we did pretty well. The thing that really kicked our butts was the windstorm. We had a windstorm come in one night. And it absolutely, we had, gusts of 50-mile-an-hour plus. In fact, the big canvas tent that we had to restake it down because it had rolled another tent we had set up that I was in. and we had set up my nephew's big canvas tent along with that, and we had to restake it down because the wind was so powerful. It was trying to lift the tent up. We actually were holding it down, and it was crazy night, man. We didn't get much sleep to say the least, because we thought the tent was gonna fly away. The next day was more of like, let's clean things up, and we're lucky no trees fell on us, and we got hit by some good snow. We got hit. It sleeted one night so heavy that the next day there was probably 2 inches of sleet. It was like snow. I mean, we were just getting hit with everything, and but we kept pushing through, and we knew we were going to see bulls. You know, I didn't have, and this is a definite key part to your success with this tag. You need to be able to get as many people as you can to come help you with this tag. The more eyes and ears and noses you have out there looking for you, the better chance you're going to get a real monster. I only had 2 guys, so I had my good friend Dean and spiritual advisor Dean Yoder. He was there for the first 3 days of the hunt. My nephew didn't come till the last few days of the last 9 days of the hunt. And even like the first few days, it snowed on us on day 2. Day 1 was really nice and mild, but then the temps just dropped. It snowed about 3 inches on us. The higher elevations above us probably got a little more. And then it just hammered us again. Let's see, Dean left on Friday, and it hammered again that night. I think we got another 6 or 7 inches of snow at the elevation I was at, but the higher elevations, they all got like a foot of snow. In fact, there was a lot of guys that actually came down to the lower elevations where we were, and made camp, because it got crazy up there, to say the least. And having as many people as you can branch out over all the different areas. The area that we were in is kind of a pocket area between 2 big drainages. And so, me knowing the unit the way that I did, I knew there would be plenty of bulls in there. And there was. Opening morning, well, actually, so the day before season open, I think we seen 4 bulls that evening. One of them was, it was bigger than this one. This was the second largest bull that I seen. But this other bull was probably like a 380, 390 bull. It was a giant. In fact, if anybody sees him this year, it'd be his left tine at the very top. He had this cool Eighorn on his beam, on the very back. It was, at the tops. It was really cool. You could definitely tell him apart over any other bull. We only seen him that day. Well, we think we might have seen him opening morning coming down into some lower country, but it was still so dark. We knew it was a bull. We didn't know if it was him. But opening day, I think all told, we seen 11 bulls. Within the first couple hours, we seen 7. But that has a lot to do with my experience with that unit. But the more people that you can have helping you, you're gonna get a big one. The other thing is you have to be really patient. You're gonna see a lot of bulls. There's no doubt about that. I almost pulled the trigger on a 5-point, not quite as big as him, but what was cool about this 5-point is his antlers were like red. Like red with white tips. He was so beautiful. Just a, you could tell he'd been rubbing on the alders all over, but his rack was so beautiful. And his coat, he was like super blonde, which makes me think he might have been old, but he certainly didn't look old. He looked like a young bull. Just a really beautiful elk. If nobody shot him, he'll be a giant this year. But yeah, something told me though, I had him at 470 yards. Um, you know, and easily could have dropped him right in his tracks. Chose not to. There was a little voice that said, just hold out. You're going to get a bigger one. Just keep holding out. But, with the storm and everything that hit us, we also went through a period. So, basically, like Sunday, when the storm hit, Sunday night through Tuesday, Tuesday morning. Well, Sunday, it was probably like Sunday, like at 4 o'clock. We had maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of light left when the wind really started picking up, even before it started snowing. Um, and then that storm didn't quit on us till Tuesday morning. I mean, we got hurt and we kept hunting through all that, but we never seen any elk. They were just hunkered down. But you might have a period like that. So making sure that you're taking off, I would highly suggest taking off, that first 14 days. I would say, that would probably be your best bet. You have to remember that there's not as many people in that unit hunting as you might think. There's a lot of people that draw that first season spike tag, but we never ran into any spike hunters on first season. We did on the Saturday, the day we left. We ran into a bunch of spike hunters, and I told them about a big herd we had seen that had a bunch of spikes in it. And but you have that, you have fair game of most of it, and patience is just going to be the key, man. That's what's really going to get you the bull that you're looking for. Having lots of people, having the time, that time, like, I was trying to mix it all in there together. That time, it's going to take you time, and you've waited 23 years. Now, I had prepared to take off the whole season. I'm glad I didn't, man. That many days. So we left on day 13, but 12 days in camp, man, it started to wear on me. I was getting thin. I was getting low up until the point I shot that bull, and I shot it on day 9. Relatively, well, I wouldn't say easy, but easy for Mount Emily. 2 mile pack out. Me and my nephew, we got it done, and first quarter's out that day, and then we got the rest of it done on Friday. I shot it on a Thursday, and it was for Mount Emily, it was easy. I mean, there's a lot of places. There's some deep nasties over there that, you really got to have an army of people to get your bull out. We've seen a lot of older gentlemen. To every older gentleman who drew that tag, definitely have some young legs with you. My nephew Jake is in his early 30s, and it's nice to have 30-year-old legs, because we had 2 miles, one way. So it's total of 4 miles. Now, we were able to use some old roads and a few trails that I knew about, but still, it's, 2 miles there, 2 miles back, packing heavy. And it's not for the faint of heart, let me tell you. It's, you got to be in shape. I would have liked to have been in a little shape. Some of those pictures, you can see my my gut hanging out, but you know, that's just part of being 50, I guess. Um, but you know, you can you can try to mentally prepare yourself for every part of it that you can, but man, just that wait, that long of wait, you'll just flood of emotions. And it's okay, let those emotions out, man. Let them out. You know, don't hold those back because you deserve this. You've waited that long. Let the emotion go. I was, you know, after I killed my bull, I was very, very emotional. Um, it was it was tough to say the least. Because you've been harboring all that, and now it just you go from the lowest of lows, stormed out, snow, you know, not seeing any bulls, to all of a sudden we're seeing bulls everywhere. You know, oh hey, there's a big shooter bull right there. Um, so that'll be the next thing I want to talk about is what to expect as far as big bull size. Now, there are areas of Mount Emily that hold bigger bulls than others. Um, just find the biggest, nastiest, deepest drainages and start there. We were not hunting one of those big, nasty, steep drainages. I mean, it's steep, but for Eastern Oregon, this was a pretty tame drainage. But we were hunting between two massive drainages there. And, you know, I chose to stay in a small drainage in a pocket where I knew, you know, bulls were going to be hiding and hanging out and doing all that. You know, and that was the thing. All the bulls except for up until Thursday, up until Thursday, all the bulls that we had seen, except for the exception of 3, were all branch bulls, big branch bulls. All say 330 to like 350, like this guy, and there was tons of them. They were everywhere. And you know, I knew if I just kept waiting, I was going to get a shot at a big one. Well, you know, you can see it right there, one side of it. You know, it's a big bull. I don't know what it scores. I seen a bunch of bulls at the Sportsman show that were all like him, that were anywhere from like 340 to 350. So I put him in there. If he is 350, he's just barely 350. You know, he's got real good mass. His symmetry, what was interesting, I was just kind of messing around with a soft tape, and this bull is so symmetrical. There's only about a ½ inch difference between all the points on both sides, and then his main beams, like right here, here, and then up here, you know, they don't change. That's the same circumference all the way through. So you'll see it if you look at my montage video. You'll see him. I mean, he's just a pretty bull. He's gorgeous. And I was proud to have him. But you know, you got to have a real expectation of what you're looking for. So my expectation is, yes, I would have shot a much bigger bull, but the first 350 bull that came along, it was taking a dirt nap. That was my expectation, was 350 or bigger. I know I got real close to that, and we only seen one other bull that was bigger than this. Was, you know, that 380, he was big, 7x7, 380, 390 class. We had heard of another big 7x7 being killed with an outfitter. You know, and that's the other thing. For everyone that drew this tag, I got 3 different cards from outfitters wanting me to, you know, use their services on this hunt. If you can afford to do that, do it. I could not afford to do it, but that outfitter, you know, he's been sitting on those elk all summer long. He knows where they're at. He knows where all the big ones are. He hires other guides to sit on bulls, you know, pattern their movements. You know, these Mount Emily elk, unless they're push, they'll stay in drainages. They move around, but they stay in a pretty small area. For elk, um, they it's almost like a blacktail where they'll just stay in this drainage unless you push them out. They'll stay there, and if you can afford an outfitter to take that all that chance that you're not going to be successful away, do it. It's well worth the money, especially after you've waited 23 years. I would highly suggest that. It's just that wasn't an option for me. Um, you know, but be realistic in your expectations um, of what kind of bull you're going to find. There are big, 390 and 400 plus bulls in there. There's not very many of them, but they're there. I've seen them over the years. Some absolute monsters that I'm sure nobody ever shot. And because, well, to get to where they were, these elk are so tough you couldn't eat the gravy. And you might see them with a spotting scope, and you might be able to shoot them. You might have a rifle that can shoot that far, but you have to get to them after they're shot. And these were in areas where you got to be someone who's not human to get there. And there are places like that in Mount Emily, where you got to be careful where you shoot one because you might not be able to get to it, and that's a real problem. The last thing I want to talk about is your rifle that you use there. Leave nothing to chance. If you're not shooting a 30 caliber Magnum or bigger, whether it's 300 Ultra, 300 Win, I was shooting my father's. In fact, you'll get to see that rifle, my father's custom Winchester rifle in 300 Weatherby mag. The rifle that he never got to take a big giant bull with, but I did for him. But 30 caliber Magnum is the min. You could even use 7mm. 7mm will easily kill stuff out to 600-700 yards. I won't shoot past 600 yards. In fact, this bull right here, we killed him at 548. Well, I just want to say thanks, Barnes Bullets, man. It was a rushed shot. I shouldn't have rushed it, but I did. But thank God for Barnes Bullets, because let's just say this: never take a 548 yard shot on an elk when it's moving. And this elk was moving, and I shot him one time, and I held a little higher than I probably should have when I dialed in, and I hit him right in the spine, right with the shoulders, right in the spine. His spine just snapped, and he just rolled down. I mean, there's very few shots other than a heart or a head shot where elk just drop, but where I hit him on the spine, right there above his shoulders, I mean, it was lights out. I actually thought he had ran downhill. I didn't know till I got to him that he had actually taken a step and just dirt napped downhill. And then I seen where I hit him, and I was like, I expected him to hit lower right behind the shoulder, but I didn't realize we were shooting downhill, and I probably held a little higher. And my load at 500 yards has a 23-inch drop. I shoot 168 grain Barnes tip triple shock, and it's zinging along at 3350. The load's fairly warm, but all 300 Weatherby loads are warm. But it's like a laser, man. You just, in fact, the past two bulls that I've killed with that rifle, they've been one shot. But, by the grace of the good Lord, that hit him so square right in the spine and just dropped like a sack of potatoes. But you need to expect a 500 yard shot. That's all there is to it. If you can get one closer, hey, great. but expect to shoot 500 yards. That's just to give me over there. Like I said before, I don't shoot over 600 ever. Even with the 300 Weatherby, that's just my personal thing. It's not that I can't make shots past that. It's just, you know, once you start shooting past that 600 yard mark, you're no longer really a hunter, you're a shooter. And I would prefer, when I can, to use my skills as a hunter to get closer. You know, let's get that shot down to 250 yards or closer. You know, get it down to 100 yards, get it as close as you can. And that's where our skills as a hunter, you know, really, you can really hone them. And that's where you shine, where you get the most gratification. Whether you're bow hunting or rifle hunting, is that stock, man. That's what it's all about. And unfortunately, you know, it can't always be that way. You got to take some long shots. But 600 yards, you know, or less for a 300 Weatherby is very doable. Even for 300 Win Mag, you know, for 7mm mag, 300 Ultra. I've seen a lot of elk killed at great distances with 300 Ultra. You know, that's another really good 30 caliber Magnum. 300 Norma. You know, there's so many new calibers out there that are, you know, they basically tell you they're guaranteeing you meat. Man, you just can't beat the old calibers, in my opinion. Not that 300 Ultra is old. I think it's been around for 25 years now. Unlike, you know, 7mm Remington, 300 Win Mag, you know, 300 Weatherby, 300, you know, Norma. There's a lot of them that have all been around since the 40s and have put a lot of meat down. And, you know, I wouldn't say you have to go out and get a new rifle, but you definitely need to have a rifle that's capable of taking a very large animal at distance, and you need to practice, you know, your shooting. I was practicing, you know, I'd go out and shoot, say 6 rounds. That's it. You know, do two 3-round groups, with my dad's rifle, and, you know, just staying used to. And all of my shooting, I was doing at 300 and 400 yards. I have a range where I can actually go out to 900 if I want. But I was staying in that 3, because I do a 300 yard zero, a true 300 yard zero. So I have a target out at 300 yards and we're shooting dead on. And I could, you know, actually, I don't think I have. I thought I saved one of my targets. I guess I didn't. But basically at 300 yards, I can do a quarter. Put them all in a quarter at 300 yards. You know, that's plenty accurate. I'm shooting on bags. So that's realistic accuracy. We're not shooting bench rifles here. You know, a quarter at 300 yards is good. But, you know, practice with your rifle. If you're hand loading, make sure your loads are exact. All mine, you know, I used all the premium components, brand new cases. I did everything right. Basically building my own factory rounds. You know, the right primers for that round. I mean, everything. Leave no stone unturned. You know, expect the worst that place is going to give you. Have lots of help. You know, that's probably the biggest one. Oh, the last thing, and probably the most important. So scouting, and I am going to give these secrets up. As far as scouting in Mount Emily, you need to do a minimum of 2 scouting trips. That's 2. Your first trip should be around July 4th, that weekend. The reason that I say that is because most of the big bulls will all have really nice antler growth by then. And, you they're all like relatively easy to get close to and spot. And, you can really, really tell you a lot about Mount Emily being up there July 4th weekend, or in that area, that first weekend in July. That is really the time that you need to go there and do your scouting. Spend a minimum, that first one in July, spend like, where was I? I was there for 5 days, 4 nights. But yeah, basically went there on, left Thursday night and came back Monday, type of thing. And then, definitely your second scouting trip, and this one, it's probably more critical than the first one, and that is the last weekend of bow hunting. The reason, or even if you go during that first weekend of deer hunting, the reason being is because there's also 57, 58 archery tags. So if you got a rifle tag, you get to see everything that's left over. And it's kind of funny too. I forgot to grab it, but this bull, this bull had a broken off broadhead. I know right where it is. I stuck it in a tree. So next year when I go back there deer hunting, I'm going to go grab it. But yeah, he had a broadhead in the top end of his shoulder, like someone shot from a tree stand down onto him. And it was this tiny little broadhead. I mean, it didn't even look like 100 grains. This little skinny ass arrow. I mean, dude, it didn't even it penetrated into his shoulder, but it didn't even get to any vitals. I mean, so all you archery hunters, make sure that arrow's up around 500 grains, man. Get the penetration. Because I have a feeling that wasn't the only one shot that had an arrow in him. But he showed no signs of being hurt whatsoever. It didn't really go that far into him. Like I said, it looked like it shot him from up above. But yeah, when I was taking his left shoulder off, I kept feeling something with my knife, and I was like, what the hell? And started peeling around the meat a little bit. And in the very top of the shoulder, that's where I found that broadhead, and about, 4 or 5 inches of shaft. And it wasn't really, maybe got like 3 inches of penetration. That was it. I don't even think that. It just didn't go very far in. Using too light an arrow. But, having that scouting trip, if you're a rifle hunter, that really paid off for me. I had 3 different drainages that I was looking at. And that last weekend of archery season when I was there, and I had a bunch of people with us on that help scouting, that really paid off for us and made our decision where we were going to start, where we should be. And man, not all of the archery hunters are going to be successful. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the rifle hunters were more successful than the archery hunters. I know, being in the rut, that's probably not true, but after getting information, more inside baseball from, some archery hunters in that area, and the misuse of calling. Let's just say that, people calling elk that have no business calling elk, and using calling in all the wrong ways and wrong situations. Those elk over there are call shy. And I really do believe that the rifle hunters do much better. But that last weekend in September, in archery season, man, it's going to pay off for you. Now, if you're an archery hunter, and you're doing your preseason scouting, you need to be there. You should have been there once already. Definitely for the archery guys, I would say you needed to be there around the 1st of June, maybe even Labor Day, to see what's still around, or Memorial Day, excuse me. To see what's still around, maybe looking for some sheds and stuff. Because even now, the antler growth that the elk have is, a lot more than you think. You'd be surprised. And, you would want to be there as an archery hunter, I would say at least, August 1st, to see, hey, what elk are out of velvet? Where is their relation to water? In the wintertime, it's not so critical, their relationship to water, even though they have to drink. But, during the rut, those elk have to drink twice a day. You know, and Mount Emily's got good water. In fact, here's another little thing I'll share with you. On your scouting trips, a lot of them aren't labeled, but they have made different watering ponds all over the high country in Mount Emily. There's several of them. I'm not going to tell you where they are, but you can find them. Those are real key because then those elk don't have to travel down to get to a watering hole. They can travel across. And they're like magnets for animals, especially during bow season because it is warmer and they have to drink twice a day. Always remember that. They have to have their water twice a day. A lot of times they won't move too far from good water, but too far from an elk's a couple miles, through a nasty canyon. So, but that scouting that you'll do as a bow hunter, the earlier the better. And 2 trips, just like a rifle hunter. You just want to move those back a little bit. But, I'll definitely have the comments on if anybody has any questions. I'm not going to give up any hidey holes. I'm going to make it even for everybody, even though I know that, I know that area well. In fact, if I could have had like 20 guys to where I could set, 5 guys in one drainage, 5 guys in another drainage, I would have done that. But I just didn't have that many people to go with me. If the more people you have, it's going to be a better opportunity for you to get a bigger bull. Or if you can afford to hire an outfitter, and guides, that's just, if you can afford that, that's really going to put you ahead of the game there, man. There's no doubt about it. And I would do it. I would have done it in a heartbeat if I could have afforded it, but I just couldn't afford it. I was fortunate enough to get 2 guys to come with me, but to everybody who got the tag, congratulations. I know what you went through. I know firsthand what it feels like, and that goes for everybody who's Oregon's got 3 main trophy units. And, for everybody who's had to wait to get that tag, a quarter century almost, I just, God bless you, man. I hope you guys get a monster. I really do, man. Because we shouldn't have to wait that long. But I think there's a point of pride with everyone who has and then had success. For me, that area is just, it's my church, it's my cathedral. So to be able to, to do that over there, I doubt I'll be able to do it again in my lifetime. In fact, this year I did put in for the tag, because there are a couple tags that you can draw with 0 points. The first, I think it was 26% of the tags are, are all random. So there is a chance, although it be a small one. But um, good luck to you, man. God bless. I hope you guys just really just smoke a big one. You know, it's such a special area. It really is. Mount Emily, that whole area, um, it's just a different set of mountains. It's not that they're bigger or more rugged. In fact, they're not. I think Mount Emily itself is, I don't even, barely like 6,000 feet. I mean, if you look at the Monument or the Elkhorns, there's 9, 10,000 foot peaks up there. So, but it just has a special place. It just is a special place. It's wonderful. And, man, I wish you all as much success as the good Lord will give you, man. And good luck. Like I said, comment if you have any questions. I'm not going to tell you where to go, but I'll definitely answer your questions to the best of my ability. And God bless. Shoot straight. What's the other line? Tight lines. Guru out.